Hello and welcome to LFC Transfer Room. Today, let's talk about Curtis Jones. Now, Curtis Jones has been playing a more pivotal role in Liverpool's last 3 wins. He's been getting involved in quite a lot of the play, and with many people saying, we'd get rid of Curtis Jones, we'd sell Curtis Jones off, this time to sort of bring in more midfielders who could do the job, he definitely seems to be stepping up, and his connection with Jota and Gakpo looks to be getting really good. So, let's look at his stats, let's see how he performs, and then let's maybe compare him to one of the midfielders that we're linked with. Maybe Nicolo Barella. Now, Curtis Jones currently is in the top 7% in world football for a midfielder for shot-creating actions. Curtis Jones will generate around about 4 opportunities per game for the attackers to do something from. His progressive carries put him in the top 5%. His successful take-ons, the top 8%. And his touches in the attacking penalty area is in the top 1% of midfielders in world football. When you look at who statistically is comparable to Curtis Jones, your eye automatically goes Bernardo Silva, Nicolo Barella, Seko Fofana, Ike Gundogan, Alexis McAllister, Ivan Rakitic and Gavi. All the midfielders we're linked with. So do we actually have a solution to our midfield problem and we're just not making the most of it? Well, Curtis Jones does have some flaws. Some flaws when it comes to shooting. His goals put him in the bottom 11%. His shots on target is the bottom 18%. His goal shots is the bottom 12%. And his average shot distance is in the bottom 30%. His XG is minus 0.1, which put him in the bottom 3% in world football. But it really is where passing comes in that he shines. And with Trent playing this 6 role and doing the longer passes, that really seems to help Curtis Jones out. So when you look at his short distance passing, Curtis Jones is in the top 12% in world football. His medium distance passing put him in the top 4%. But his average long passes per game put him in the bottom 16%. And his attempted is in the bottom 7%. And this is because Trent is the one that's now pinging the ball around and Curtis is just working the ball around. So when you start to look at his goals and shot creating actions, he's in the top 10% in world football, and having Trent playing this double 6 role seems to be opening up the opportunities for him to be able to spray the ball anywhere he wants. This role for Trent seems to be making a lot more use of Curtis Jones' skills, which is small, intricate passes in and around the box, not in a classic 10 formation, because when you look at things like his defence, his tackles in the attacking third put him in the top 2% in world football. His tackles in the midfield third put him in the top 40% in world football. Defensive third, bottom 28. So he's connecting to the Liverpool philosophy of high press. But he does seem to have a few errors, and his tackles and interceptions need to be improved. But like I said, let's compare him to Nicolo Barella. Let's look at, he's meant to be available for around about 50 million Barella. So let's see how they're comparing their per 90 stats. Bearing in mind that Curtis Jones has played 12 games, Barella's played 30. There's around about a 2,000 minute difference between them. But it's still a good statistical comparison because Jones is currently playing in a particular role that he's suited for and seems to statistically match to Barella. So the shooting stats are very, very similar. However, when you look at Barella's shots on target percentage, it's nearly double Curtis Jones. They have about the same number of shots. Barella's shooting from further out, and his shots on target is more than double. So I think when it comes to an attacking sense, at this moment in time, Barella is way outperforming Curtis Jones. When it comes to their passing completion percentage, on both short, medium and long passes, Curtis Jones outperforms Barella. Not by much. 93% plays 88, 92 plays 85, 75 plays 56. Barella's long passing seems to be his weakness, which again isn't much of a problem for us at Liverpool when we've got Van Dijk and we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold pinging the ball wherever they want. But they both seem to be progressive passes, progressive passive distance and passes in final third are very similar, with Barella having a few more passes in the final third than Curtis Jones per 90 minutes. The pass type, all very similar. They seem to be very statistically comparable when it comes to that. And when it comes to shot creating actions, goal and shot creating actions, Jones, as I mentioned earlier, averages around about 4 opportunities per game. Barella's 4.33. So it's only slightly more. And shot creating actions per 90 is also very similar. Goal creating actions, Curtis Jones is a little bit higher, but I think mine would be a little bit higher if I had Gakpo, Salah, Nunes, Jota, Diaz all in front of me as well. So we're not going to look at too much of that. From a defensive perspective, tackles per 90 minutes, Curtis Jones has 3 and Barella has 1.55. And the number of dribblers tackled, Curtis Jones tackles more at a 1.54 to Barella's 0.83. And I think this is where they separate. So the tackles and interceptions per game for Curtis Jones is 3.54, and the tackles and interceptions per game for Barella is 1.9. So defensively for Liverpool, Curtis Jones seems to be outperforming Barella. But this seems to be where, if you look at the data, Jones is pressing and winning the ball back. So in the attacking third and the midfield third, in the defensive third, he's not as involved as, let's say, Barella is, and that's where Barella seems to be making most of his attempts. So he's not tackling dribblers as much or anything like that. He's blocking lanes, he's blocking avenues of attack, and he's trying to stop things going through. The other really interesting part when I looked at the comparison between the two is their progressive distance. Per 90 minutes, both are incredibly similar. 258, 261. 51 carries a game, 44 carries a game. Barella's the second one in this instance. So they both seem to have very, very similar progressive distances. However, Jones gets tackled twice as much as Barella. Barella seems to be a little bit more intelligent, which you would anticipate of someone who has, got a few more years in the league and has played a few more games. What this data shows me is Liverpool need English players. Liverpool need English registered players, and Curtis Jones demonstrates that actually, with a few more years of experience under his belt, a little bit more confidence on the pitch, and a little bit more exposure within the Liverpool first team, he could actually improve on a lot of the areas where Barella's ahead of them. But in some of the areas, Curtis Jones is already ahead in terms of pass completions and stuff like that. They may come down if he starts to take more risks and he starts to impact more on the ball. But at this moment in time, Curtis Jones looks like he would be a very solid, a very strong midfield option for us, as long as we keep playing Trent in that double pivot role. Let me know what you think. What do you think of Curtis Jones? Do you still want to sell him? Do you still want to keep him part of the squad? Or do you think, really, yes, the end of the season's critical for him, but next season is his defining season? That will tell us whether or not he's going to make it at Liverpool or not. It's always great to see a Scouser in the team, and to see Trent and Curtis connecting together can only be beneficial for Liverpool. I've been James, this is LFC Transfer Room, and this is What Do We Do with Curtis Jones?